Every human being wants to live well. We seek clarity, purpose, peace of mind, and the ability to navigate life without being tossed around by external events. Yet the truth is that much of what disturbs us comes from within. The world does not always change for our comfort. It does not slow down for our convenience. It often challenges us in unexpected ways. The Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, understood that if you want a good life, you must take specific actions to shape your mind and habits. They did not treat philosophy as theory alone. They treated it as a discipline that should be practiced every day. Their approach was built on actions that could be repeated until they became second nature. The value of Stoic actions is that they are practical. They can be applied in any time period, under any political system, with or without wealth, and in moments of both comfort and difficulty. They do not depend on chance or luck. They depend on how you think, what you choose, and how you act. In this video, we will explore 7 specific Stoic actions that can significantly improve your life. Each action will be explained in depth, with attention to how you can apply it today. These are not abstract ideals. They are concrete steps that the Stoics believed could lead a person towards strength, peace, and integrity. The goal is not to learn these actions once and then forget them. The goal is to integrate them so fully into your thinking and behavior that they become part of who you are. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Master the division between what you control and what you do not. One of the central ideas in Stoicism is the distinction between what is within your control and what is not. This is the foundation upon which all other Stoic actions are built. Without this understanding, you will spend your energy on battles you cannot win and neglect the areas where your influence is strongest. What is within your control are your thoughts, judgments, decisions, and actions. These belong to you alone. External events, the behavior of others, and the natural course of life are outside your control. The Stoics did not say you should ignore these external factors. They said you should respond to them with reason, without expecting to control their outcome. To apply this principle, begin by observing where your mind goes when you face challenges. Do you spend hours wishing the world was different? Do you rehearse conversations in your head that never happened? These are signs that you are focused on what lies outside your influence. The Stoic response is to shift your attention back to what you can do right now. For example, if a job opportunity is lost, you cannot change the decision of the employer. You can improve your skills through targeted study, seek out mentorship to strengthen your expertise, apply to new positions that fit your goals, and build a professional network that increases your exposure to opportunities. If the weather changes your plans, you cannot make the sun appear, but you can adjust your schedule, explore alternative activities, and turn the unexpected change into a chance for different forms of productivity or rest. This mindset requires discipline because the pull of external events is strong and often reinforced by years of habit, cultural influence, and the natural desire to control outcomes. The mind resists accepting limits and clings to the belief that with enough force, persistence, or cleverness, anything can be bent to will. This belief can lead to wasted energy and frustration when reality refuses to comply. Training yourself to recognize the clear boundary between what belongs to you and what belongs to chance takes repeated effort, reflection, and sometimes the guidance of others who can point out when you are straying into the realm of the uncontrollable. Each time you make this distinction accurately, you strengthen your capacity for self-mastery. By mastering this division, you remove the frustration of pursuing the impossible, redirecting your focus to areas where your influence matters most. This focus sharpens your energy, provides a clear path for consistent progress, and safeguards you against the slow erosion of willpower that comes from repeated disappointment. You begin to notice patterns in how you choose your actions, becoming more deliberate and measured in your decisions. This deliberate approach allows you to conserve effort for tasks that genuinely have the potential to create meaningful change, and it builds a reservoir of confidence in your ability to meet challenges head-on. Over time, this precision in focus cultivates a sense of calm authority over your own life. You stop scattering your attention across endless variables you cannot control, and you begin investing your energy into targeted, high-value actions. The result is a kind of inner steadiness that does not waver every time external conditions shift. You learn to see setbacks as opportunities to refine your method rather than as reasons to abandon your direction. A useful way to practice this is to begin each day by writing 2 lists. On the first list, record the challenges, uncertainties, or possible disruptions you expect to face, regardless of size or perceived importance. On the second list, write down exactly what you can directly influence about each situation, describing the specific, actionable steps you can take. Avoid vague intentions. Replace general statements like "try harder" with concrete plans, such as contact 3 new clients by noon, or prepare for tomorrow's meeting for 30 minutes with focused notes. Review these lists several times during the day to ensure your attention remains anchored in areas where you can act. This habit not only conditions your mind to default toward problem solving, it also produces a visible, tangible record of where your time and effort are best invested, giving you a clear picture of how discipline translates into measurable progress. Chapter 2. Keep your judgments in check. The Stoics taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. This principle is one of the most powerful ideas for improving your life because it gives you a direct method to influence your emotional state without having to alter the external world. It shifts the focus from changing uncontrollable circumstances to refining the way you perceive them. Your mind is constantly processing and interpreting the flow of events, attaching labels like good, bad, unfair, or lucky. These labels are not neutral. They create emotional responses that shape your actions, your decisions, and even the tone of your day. In many cases, these judgments are assigned almost automatically, shaped by old habits, ingrained beliefs, fleeting moods, or past experiences, and they often go unexamined. The Stoic approach is to slow down this reflexive labeling process, giving yourself the space to examine whether your judgment is truly accurate, balanced, and useful. Consider a practical example. If someone criticizes your work, your first mental reaction might be, "This is an attack." That interpretation can quickly lead to defensiveness, tension, and resentment. Yet, if you deliberately pause and open yourself to another interpretation, "This is feedback I can use to improve," the exact same event produces a different emotional state. The words spoken remain identical, but your reaction changes because the meaning you assign to them changes. Keeping your judgments in check does not require suppressing your feelings or pretending to be unaffected. It requires understanding that your feelings arise from your interpretation, and that interpretation can be refined, reshaped, and trained through consistent practice. When you become aware of this, you stop treating emotions as uncontrollable forces and start seeing them as signals you can study and guide. The more you rehearse pausing between the event and your judgment, the more opportunities you create to insert reason into that gap. With repetition, this space between stimulus and interpretation expands, giving you room to choose a response that serves your long-term values rather than short-term impulses. Over time, this skill becomes automatic, allowing you to respond with clarity, even in moments of tension. In daily life, you can strengthen this skill by adopting a structured 3-question process whenever you feel provoked or unsettled. 1. Is my initial judgment based on clear, verifiable evidence or on an untested assumption? 2. Is this situation genuinely harmful to my well-being, or is it simply unpleasant, inconvenient, or unexpected? 3. Will this event hold the same weight in my mind in a week, a month, or a year from now? By working through these questions deliberately, you slow the rush of automatic thought, bring your perceptions into proportion, and greatly reduce the likelihood of acting in a way you later regret. This deliberate mental slowdown gives you the breathing room to gather more information, compare perspectives, and evaluate whether your initial response is in harmony with your deeper values. It creates a gap where reflection can occur, where you can weigh potential outcomes against the standards you set for yourself. The more often you practice this kind of measured thinking, the more you train your mind to favor thoughtful consideration over reflexive reaction. Over time, you begin to establish a default mode of thought that is steady, grounded, and resilient, less shaken by emotional turbulence and less prone to the influence of fleeting moods or external pressures. As part of your ongoing reflection routine, dedicate time each evening to thoroughly reviewing moments when strong emotion influenced your thinking or behavior. Recount the situation in detail, noting what sparked the emotion, the assumptions you made in that instant, and the exact feelings that arose. Then, explore whether a different interpretation could have offered more clarity, fairness, or alignment with your guiding principles. Ask yourself how this alternative framing might have influenced your emotional state, altered your tone of voice, or changed the actions you took. Over weeks and months, track recurring themes. Are there certain triggers that appear repeatedly? Are there patterns of assumption that consistently lead you toward unhelpful conclusions? Recognizing these patterns equips you to address them proactively. The collection of insights that emerges from this practice becomes far more than a diary. It develops into a personal archive of growth, a comprehensive and evolving record that captures not only what you experienced, but how your perception of events has matured over time. This archive documents the steady progress of deliberate refinement in your judgments, how each effort to question and reframe them strengthens your emotional stability, sharpens your decision-making skills, and deepens your capacity to live each day with clear intention, disciplined reason, and calm authority. Over weeks, months, and years, you will be able to look back and see patterns of transformation. The same situations that once provoked frustration now met with composure. The same challenges that once caused hesitation now approached with quiet confidence. This ongoing process reinforces your commitment to self-mastery, showing in tangible form how reflection becomes action and action becomes character. With each cycle of this disciplined review, you take another step toward the steady composure and inner strength the Stoics regarded as a defining mark of wisdom, a trait that can guide you through both ordinary days and the most trying of circumstances. Chapter 3. Practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics believed in strengthening the mind by exposing it to controlled difficulty, a form of deliberate training that builds resilience in advance of hardship. They recognized that life will inevitably present challenges beyond our control, and they understood the value of preparing the mind and body to face them without panic. This action serves as a rehearsal for adversity. If you only seek ease, the very comfort you depend on can weaken your resolve, leaving you fragile and easily unsettled when life removes it. Voluntary discomfort is the intentional decision to step outside convenience and into mild hardship for the sake of mental and physical fortitude. It is a conscious, deliberate act that signals to your mind and body that you are willing to challenge yourself in order to grow stronger. It can take many forms: taking a cold shower to train your tolerance and reset your relationship with comfort, fasting for a day to strengthen discipline over appetite and prove that hunger is not an emergency, walking instead of driving to practice endurance and patience, or sleeping on a harder surface to detach from the constant expectation of perfect comfort. The aim is not meaningless suffering, it is a deliberate demonstration to yourself that you can function capably, efficiently, and with composure, even when the environment is less than ideal. Each act becomes a personal proof that luxury is pleasant, but not essential to your ability to live well, and that the removal of convenience does not remove your capacity to act. When you practice voluntary discomfort, you gradually reduce the shock of real adversity and transform hardship into something familiar, manageable, and far less intimidating. You condition your mind to see challenge not as an emergency, but as an environment you can navigate with skill. If you have already chosen hunger for a day, you will approach unexpected scarcity with a steadier mind, less prone to fear, anxiety, or complaint. If you have walked long distances on purpose, you will adapt more easily when travel plans fail or transportation is lost, treating the inconvenience as a temporary obstacle rather than a catastrophe. Even minor discomforts, repeated consistently, become powerful lessons in adaptation. Over time, these small exercises build an inner library of experiences that confirm again and again that discomfort is not a signal to collapse, but an invitation to adapt, a deliberate call to draw on your inner resources and prove that resilience is a skill, not a gift, and that it can be strengthened through practice. The Stoics also viewed this habit as a direct and reliable path to deeper gratitude. By periodically removing comforts, you reawaken your awareness of their value and renew your appreciation for them when they return. A simple meal tastes richer after fasting, its flavors more vivid and satisfying. A warm bed feels more restorative after a night on a firm surface, and hot water is more appreciated after a cold shower. You come to see comforts as privileges, not entitlements, which makes you less likely to take them for granted or to feel entitled to their constant presence. This shift in perspective changes your relationship with pleasure. You can enjoy it fully when it is present, without clinging to it, and you no longer fear its absence because you have proven to yourself that you can live well without it. To integrate this principle into your life, select one form of voluntary discomfort each week and approach it with clear intention, careful preparation, and a well-defined purpose. Begin by choosing a challenge that stretches you just enough to engage your mental and physical capacities, yet remains safe and sustainable. Keep it reasonable in scale so that you can repeat it consistently without risk of harm or burnout. As you gain experience, adjust the challenge to engage both body and mind more deeply, ensuring that it tests different dimensions of your resilience. Rotate through varied types of discomfort so you build a broad base of strength, physical endurance, mental discipline, emotional patience, adaptability under changing circumstances, and even creative problem-solving when resources are limited. Before you begin each exercise, set a specific intention. Know exactly what you are training, whether it is tolerance for physical hardship, the ability to remain calm in inconvenience, or the skill of maintaining focus under less than ideal conditions. As you move through the challenge, remind yourself often that the primary goal is mastery over your own perspective and response. Pay close attention to the thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations that arise in moments of difficulty and record them afterward for reflection. Use these observations as targeted opportunities to train your ability to remain steady and deliberate, even when comfort is absent. In the process, each exercise should serve as a living demonstration that comfort is a preference, not a necessity. With repetition, you will internalize the lesson that your true strength lies not in the stability of your surroundings, but in the stability, adaptability, and disciplined control of your own will. Over time, this cultivated resilience will extend into other parts of life, allowing you to face both daily inconveniences and significant challenges with a steady mind and unshaken resolve. Chapter 4. Live each day with purpose. The Stoics viewed time as the most valuable resource, more precious than wealth or status, because once it is spent, it can never be recovered. Every hour lost is gone forever, making it essential to treat each day as a complete and self-contained unit, worthy of deliberate attention and meaningful action. They urged a constant awareness of how time is used, seeing wasted moments as the erosion of life itself. Living with purpose begins by asking yourself what matters most to you at the deepest level, and then ensuring that your daily actions, both large and small, consistently reflect those priorities. This is not a surface-level exercise, but a process of sustained self-examination, clarifying your values in detail, and then developing the discipline to align your behavior with them over time. It requires honest assessment of how you currently use your time, where you fall into unthinking patterns, and which actions truly contribute to your larger aims. Living with purpose does not mean locking yourself into an inflexible schedule that leaves no room for adaptation, but it does mean cultivating a conscious and intentional relationship with your time, a relationship where you are in active command of your choices rather than allowing them to be dictated by habit or by the demands of others. Many people drift through their days reacting to external pressures, unplanned interruptions, and distractions. The Stoics warned that this aimlessness leaves life feeling scattered, unfulfilled, and vulnerable to disruption because it lacks a steady anchor of intention. You can bring lasting structure to your days by setting clear, specific priorities each morning and returning to them regularly as the day unfolds, using them as a compass to navigate both planned and unexpected events. These priorities should be deeply anchored to your core values and your long-term direction, not chosen merely for convenience, mood, or short-term gratification. This deliberate alignment ensures that even the smallest, most routine actions feed into the broader vision of the life you are consciously building. When every choice is connected to a larger purpose, you establish a consistent and coherent pattern of living that strengthens your sense of direction, sharpens your focus, and reinforces your ability to remain steady even when circumstances shift without warning. This approach also reduces decision fatigue because you have already determined what matters most, allowing you to filter out distractions with greater ease. For example, if personal growth is one of your highest values, dedicate scheduled, protected time for study, reading, or skill development, and treat this time as a fixed, non-negotiable obligation rather than an optional extra. Commit to a specific environment or set of conditions that support that focus, such as a quiet room, a set time of day, or a particular method of study. If relationships are central to you, block out periods for genuine, undistracted connection, whether through meaningful conversation, shared experiences, or simply offering your presence, and guard that time from unnecessary intrusions. Over weeks and months, these repeated acts create momentum and reinforce your identity as someone who lives with clarity, integrity, and deliberate intent. They also set clear expectations for others, training those around you to respect your boundaries and commitments, which further supports your purposeful living. To put this into practice, begin each morning by writing down your top 3 priorities for the day in clear, actionable terms, specifying not just what you will do, but when and how you will do it. Keep them visible, in a notebook, on your desk, or as reminders on your phone, so they remain active in your awareness and guide your decisions when unexpected demands or tempting distractions arise. In the evening, review them with complete honesty, asking yourself whether your actions truly honored those commitments, and if not, why they were displaced. Record your observations about what helped you stay on track and what pulled you away, then adjust accordingly for the next day. Over time, this simple yet powerful practice will sharpen your decision-making, deepen your awareness of how you actually spend your time, and equip you with the discipline to redirect your energy away from low-value activities toward the people, goals, and principles that define a purposeful life lived with intention. Chapter 5. Keep desire and aversion in balance. The Stoics taught that desire and aversion are the two main forces that drive human behavior, shaping nearly every choice you make. Desire pulls you toward something, while aversion pushes you away from it. Both are natural and necessary, yet when either becomes uncontrolled or misdirected, life begins to lose stability and clarity. An unchecked desire can drive you into constant restlessness, always chasing the next thing without ever feeling content. An unchecked aversion can cause you to shrink from challenges, retreat from opportunity, and live in a constant state of avoidance. The Stoic approach is to keep both forces in balance by aligning them with reason and deliberate choice. Desire should be directed toward pursuits fully within your control, such as building your character, refining your actions, and expanding your learning. Aversion should be reserved for things that genuinely damage your integrity, moral failings, destructive habits, and poor decisions. This disciplined alignment acts as a filter, preventing you from wasting energy on what cannot be influenced or on fears that hold no real power over you. It also safeguards you from scattering your focus across endless wants or reacting impulsively to every discomfort. Finding this balance requires consistent and disciplined self-awareness, cultivated over time through deliberate reflection and honest assessment. You must set aside moments to examine not only what you are pursuing, but also the deeper motivations behind that pursuit, and not only what you avoid, but the exact reasons for your avoidance. This involves questioning whether each pursuit genuinely contributes to your long-term growth, resilience, and well-being, or whether it is simply an echo of cultural expectations, peer influence, or habit absorbed without conscious decision. Similarly, it means evaluating whether each aversion is rooted in an actual present danger or is instead the product of imagined harm amplified by habit, past experiences, or anxiety. This process is not about occasional surface reflection, but about training yourself to repeatedly bring your impulses before the court of reason, allowing careful judgment to separate what is truly valuable from what distracts, weakens, or diminishes you. When desire and aversion are held in careful equilibrium, you become far less susceptible to manipulation from both external pressures and internal impulses. Temptations lose their pull because you no longer feel the compulsion to chase every promise of gain, and threats lose their sting because you have trained yourself to refuse fear of what lies beyond your control. In this state, you operate from a position of deep stability, freedom from being dragged in every direction by shifting desires or sudden fears, a condition the Stoics regarded as one of the highest forms of liberty. This equilibrium fosters a sense of inner sovereignty, a calm center of decision-making and judgment that outside forces find extremely difficult to disturb, sway, or corrupt. It becomes a mental stronghold, a fortress built of discipline and clarity, from which you can meet life's events with deliberate choice rather than impulsive reaction. Maintaining such balance requires more than occasional thought. It calls for a regular, disciplined practice of self-examination. To strengthen and sustain this balance, set aside at least 10 minutes each week, preferably at the same time, in the same place, and with the same focus, to conduct a thorough and honest review of your strongest current desires and aversions. Write them down without self-censorship, capturing both the grand and the seemingly insignificant impulses. For each one, examine whether it aligns with your core values, whether it falls within your direct control, and what effect it has had on your overall direction in life during the past week. Go beyond simply naming them. Analyze how each desire or aversion shaped your actions, influenced your decisions, and affected your emotional state. Ask yourself whether it moved you toward the person you aim to become or pulled you away from that ideal. When patterns emerge, record them clearly so you can monitor your progress over time. Use this information as a guide to make deliberate and reasoned adjustments. Strengthen the impulses that support your principles and intentionally weaken those that undermine them. This is not a one-time correction, but a continuous refinement, a process in which each review builds on the last. Over weeks, months, and eventually years, this repeated exercise will sharpen your instincts and condition your mind so deeply that the balance between desire and aversion becomes second nature. No longer just a conscious effort, but an ingrained element of your thinking. In this way, it serves as a steady, unshakable guide that shapes not only how you live, but also how you respond to the challenges and opportunities the world presents. Chapter 6. Strengthen your discipline through small, consistent actions. Discipline is the foundation upon which the Stoics built their ability to live according to reason and virtue. It is not born from rare bursts of extreme effort, but developed through a long process of steady, repeated, and intentional actions. The Stoics understood that mastering the mind and living with integrity require daily training, not just responses in moments of crisis. Discipline is like a muscle. It strengthens with deliberate, consistent use and weakens if neglected. This training becomes part of the structure of your life, an unshakable framework that supports all other virtues. In practical terms, discipline means honoring the commitments you have made to yourself, even when your emotional state shifts, when circumstances change unexpectedly, or when comfort and distraction present a tempting alternative. It involves the steady choice to follow through with what you have already decided matters, without waiting for the perfect mood or the ideal conditions to arrive. Discipline is the ability to stay the course when fear, doubt, or outside noise tries to pull you away from your chosen direction. This strength is cultivated through a pattern of small but purposeful actions performed daily, each one reinforcing your reliability and your ability to trust yourself. These actions can be as straightforward as waking at the same time each morning, reserving set blocks of the day for learning or skill building, maintaining a consistent exercise routine, or protecting designated periods for quiet reflection and planning. The emphasis is not on the size or difficulty of the task, but on its steady repetition, carried out so consistently that it becomes a natural and unshakable part of who you are. Each repetition serves as a foundational block, preparing you for increasingly complex and demanding challenges that require steadiness, patience, resilience, adaptability, and unbroken focus over extended periods of time. Every time you follow through on a habit, you strengthen the essential link between intention and action, building undeniable proof that your life is directed by deliberate choice and firmly grounded principles. These repeated acts are not isolated. They are part of a continuous chain of effort that grows stronger with time, forming a durable and deeply rooted structure of self-control, capable of bearing significant weight under sustained pressure without bending or breaking. The process conditions both your mind and your will, training you to act with consistency whether energy is low, your environment is filled with distractions, or progress seems slow and distant. You develop the capacity to operate at a steady standard regardless of the mood of the moment. This enduring commitment acts as a safeguard, protecting your resolve during times of uncertainty and ensuring your decisions stay in harmony with your values, even when circumstances test them from multiple directions and over prolonged periods. To strengthen and maintain this framework, choose 1 or 2 small specific actions that you can perform without fail every single day, regardless of the conditions around you. These actions should directly contribute to the skills you are developing, the resilience you aim to build, or the values you intend to embody in your life. Keep a detailed, thorough, and organized record of your progress so you can identify patterns, measure your growth accurately, and hold yourself accountable in a visible, trackable way. This record can take many forms: written journals that preserve your reflections, habit trackers that give a visual representation of consistency, or scheduled reviews that keep your process active and intentional. Revisit these records consistently, using them to reflect on how each act of discipline is shaping your thinking, strengthening your decision-making, and expanding your ability to meet greater challenges. Treat each successful completion as a deliberate act of self-mastery. With persistence, you reinforce discipline as a defining quality of your character, preparing yourself to shoulder larger responsibilities, make sound decisions under pressure, and approach increasingly complex problems with clarity, steadiness, patience, and unshakable confidence. Chapter 7. Guard your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess, influencing not only your thoughts, but also the overall quality of your life. In Stoic philosophy, attention is the gateway through which perception, judgment, and action flow, meaning its strength directly impacts your ability to live in accordance with reason. When your attention is scattered or consumed by trivial distractions, your mental clarity weakens and your capacity to focus on meaningful work diminishes. Over time, this erosion of focus can lead to poor decisions, wasted energy, and a life directed more by impulse than by deliberate intention. Guarding your attention requires both constant awareness and deliberate, structured choices. Begin by noticing how often your concentration is disrupted, whether by external interruptions such as noise, messages, or unplanned demands, or by internal restlessness in the form of wandering thoughts and shifting emotions. Once you recognize these patterns, you can take control by setting boundaries both in your physical surroundings and in your personal habits. This might include limiting exposure to environments that pull you into distraction, designing spaces that invite focus, and creating routines that encourage sustained engagement. For the Stoics, controlling attention meant immersing themselves completely in the task before them, engaging with it as though nothing else existed in that moment. They trained themselves to resist the mental pull toward past regrets, which could not be changed, and future anxieties, which had not yet arrived. This required deliberate focus and an intentional narrowing of awareness to the present task, giving it their full capacity of thought and energy. They understood that scattering mental effort across multiple activities weakened the quality of each one, so they avoided fragmenting their focus. Attention was not just a passive state, it was an active discipline, a conscious effort to direct the mind where it would be most effective. They saw attention as a bridge between action and purpose, with purpose grounded in virtue. When the mind was directed wholly toward one meaningful action, the work became deeper, more precise, and more satisfying. This practice strengthened mental steadiness, allowing them to remain composed and effective under a wide range of circumstances. In a modern context, guarding attention can involve multiple layers of practical strategies designed to protect the mind from constant intrusion. This might include silencing all non-essential notifications during periods of deep concentration, placing physical devices out of sight to reduce temptation and reducing the frequency of checking emails or messages. It can also mean setting strict time boundaries around passive entertainment, ensuring that such activities do not encroach upon time set aside for important work or reflection. Another valuable method is intentionally scheduling uninterrupted work blocks during the times of day when mental energy and alertness are naturally at their peak. This approach aligns with the Stoic principle of working with nature, using the body's natural rhythms to maximize focus. Some may also benefit from clearly separating different types of work into designated spaces, allowing the mind to associate each environment with a specific kind of focus. By doing so, you create physical and mental cues that reinforce your ability to direct attention intentionally. By protecting attention in this way, you create a mental environment in which reason, clarity, and thoughtful decision-making are far more likely to flourish. Without constant fragmentation, the mind gains the ability to hold a thought longer, analyze it more carefully, and respond to situations with deliberate precision. Over time, this habit forms a dependable discipline, one that makes it easier to avoid being pulled into unimportant distractions or reactive thinking. Begin with an attention audit lasting at least several consecutive days, recording in detail how you spend your mental energy throughout the day. Include both productive and unproductive uses of focus, noting the time of day, the circumstances, and what preceded each loss of attention. Once patterns emerge, address them with clear, specific measures. This might involve rearranging your workspace to reduce visual clutter, scheduling fixed and clearly defined focus periods, using physical reminders or alarms to signal the start and end of deep work, or implementing technology rules such as phone-free mornings or specific windows for message checking. Review your findings and adjustments weekly to measure improvement and identify new challenges. This ongoing process will help ensure that your attention remains disciplined, purposeful, and aligned with the values and goals you have chosen to guide your life. Chapter 8. Practice reflection and self-examination. The Stoics placed great emphasis on reflection as a deliberate and structured tool for continuous growth. They regarded it as an essential part of the day, a practice that shaped their moral and mental development. The close of the day was not treated merely as a period of rest, but as a purposeful pause to examine the choices, words, and actions that had shaped the preceding hours. Through this disciplined review, they could identify where they had acted in alignment with virtue and where they had fallen short. This process allowed them to extract lessons from mistakes, strengthen the habits that served them well, and steadily refine their conduct so that each day built upon the last. Self-examination requires a clear and honest assessment of the truth without distortion or self-deception. It is not an occasion for dwelling on guilt, but rather a practice of objective observation and learning. The questions are simple but powerful. Did I act in accordance with my principles and values today? Where did I allow emotion, impatience, or pride to override reason and good judgment? Were there moments where I reacted impulsively instead of responding thoughtfully? How could I have navigated difficult situations with greater steadiness or fairness? Such questions expose both strengths and weaknesses, allowing you to see the areas that require further attention. By bringing these aspects into conscious awareness, you make it possible to address them directly instead of letting them remain unexamined and unchanged. Consistent reflection creates a shorter and more deliberate gap between error and correction, enabling you to address shortcomings with greater precision and efficiency. Over repeated practice, you start to notice recurring trends in your thinking, patterns in your behavior, and tendencies in your decision-making. This accumulated awareness helps you intercept unhelpful patterns before they harden into habits that undermine your long-term goals. You develop the foresight to anticipate situations where you may struggle, allowing you to prepare a more composed and deliberate response ahead of time. This preparation increases your confidence in handling both expected and unexpected challenges. With the passing of months and years, the habit of reflection strengthens your capacity for self-awareness to the point where alignment with your core principles becomes a more instinctive and natural part of daily life. Each review session reinforces your understanding that you are the active architect of your own development, guiding your path consciously rather than being shaped entirely by external pressures and chance events. Reflection not only identifies areas for correction, but also solidifies the qualities and behaviors you want to preserve, ensuring that progress is retained and built upon. Dedicate 10 to 15 minutes at the end of each day to focused and uninterrupted reflection. Select a quiet space that promotes concentration and is free from disturbances so you can give your full attention to the review process. Move through the day in an organized manner, either chronologically from morning to night or grouped by themes such as personal interactions, decisions made, and your handling of specific challenges. For each event, examine both the outcomes you consider successful and the moments that could be improved. Record your insights in a journal, noting the specific actions or attitudes that contributed to each result. Clearly outline practical steps you can take the next day to apply these lessons, making sure they are realistic and measurable. Over time, build a record of recurring themes or challenges that appear frequently in your review, as these will point to areas that deserve more sustained focus and targeted improvement. Use this process to create a sense of accountability to yourself, treating it with the same seriousness as essential tasks like work commitments or physical exercise. When reflection becomes embedded in your routine in this way, it transforms into a steady driver of personal growth, continuously guiding your behavior toward greater consistency, clarity, and alignment with the life you intend to live. Chapter 9. Act with justice in all dealings. Justice, for the Stoics, extended far beyond the boundaries of formal laws or governmental systems. It was a deeply personal, daily commitment to act with fairness, integrity, and genuine concern for the well-being of others. They saw justice as a natural extension of living in accordance with reason and virtue. Since human beings are part of a shared community, to live in harmony with nature meant to live in harmony with one another, and this demanded conduct rooted in fairness, truthfulness, and respect in every situation, regardless of whether anyone else was watching or acknowledging the effort. To act with justice is to uphold respect for others in both speech and behavior, to fulfill promises and obligations, even when it is difficult, and to avoid any action that would inflict harm for personal advantage. Justice involves the willingness to speak the truth clearly, even in situations where deception might seem easier, and to stand firmly by principles when external pressures attempt to sway you. It also requires practicing empathy, recognizing the perspective and dignity of others before making judgments or decisions. The Stoics viewed these actions not as isolated gestures, but as consistent habits that define the character of an individual who lives in accordance with virtue. When you commit to acting with justice, you build a foundation of trust, both within yourself and in your relationships with others. Internally, this trust manifests as confidence that your actions reflect your values, reducing inner conflict and creating a sense of integrity that strengthens your resolve in difficult moments. Externally, it builds a reputation of reliability and fairness, which makes others more willing to work with you, confide in you, and depend on your word. This trust becomes a form of strength in itself, as it fosters cooperation, goodwill, and mutual respect in personal and professional relationships. For the Stoics, justice was not a single virtue among many, but the binding force that allowed all other virtues to function fully. Without justice, courage could become recklessness, wisdom could become manipulation, and discipline could become cold indifference. In every significant interaction or decision, create a deliberate pause before you act or speak. During this pause, ask yourself, is this fair? Is this honest? Does this uphold the dignity and rights of others? Use these questions as a consistent filter for guiding behavior, especially in situations involving conflict, competition, or personal gain. Keep a record of instances where you acted in alignment with these principles and reflect on situations where you fell short, identifying how you could improve next time. Over time, this conscious practice of justice will reinforce your integrity, strengthen your relationships, and create a steady moral compass that directs your life toward harmony with both nature and humanity. Philosophy, to the Stoics, was never meant to remain a topic for academic debate or intellectual display. It was designed as a practical guide for living well. They held that wisdom was not proven in how eloquently you could speak about virtue, but in the consistency and integrity of your actions. To keep philosophy alive and active is to weave its principles into the fabric of everyday life, applying them not only during moments of study or deliberate reflection, but in the unbroken flow of daily decisions, responses, and interactions. This requires carrying Stoic teachings into every sphere of your life: your work, your relationships, your decision-making, your responsibilities, and even the smallest daily habits that might otherwise seem trivial. It calls for a continual return to the essential questions that anchor Stoic thought. What is within my control? Am I living in accordance with reason? Are my choices reflecting my deepest values? Am I allowing external events to dictate my peace of mind, or am I remaining guided by principles I have chosen deliberately? By keeping philosophy active, you ensure that it remains a living force rather than an abstract collection of ideas. It becomes the lens through the 7 Stoic actions discussed, mastering the division between what you control and what you do not, keeping your judgments in check, practicing voluntary discomfort, living with purpose, balancing desire and aversion, strengthening discipline, guarding attention, reflecting regularly, acting with justice, and keeping philosophy active, form a framework for living with strength and clarity. By practicing them daily, you create habits of mind and action that align with reason and virtue. You become less shaken by external events, more deliberate in your choices, and more consistent in living according to your values. This is the Stoic path, not perfection, but continual progress toward the life you are capable of living.